Hello, my lovely people. Good morning to you and welcome to God's Love You channel. If it is your first time and you like what we do here, kindly subscribe. Put on your notification bell to all notifications. This will enable you to know when we upload a new video. Here we react to all forms of videos, local, international, especially what is happening in Nigeria. So if you enjoy these things, kindly subscribe. My great people, I want each and every one of us to cool down, listen to this video. It don't shele. It don't de shele. Hey, the Northerners, they don't finally wake up. Now, the worst thing the Nigerian government ever did was kidnapping Nnamdi Kanu. The worst thing they did, I keep on telling people, it's not everybody that you can treat anyhow. The worst thing, now they cannot have opened the eyes of the youth. I was surprised when I saw this video. We will stay here, we'll listen to it together, then we'll come to the comment section. They say, Chapa, they must release Nnamdi Kanu, that the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. Let's watch. Let's watch together.
Remain adamant that he probably is not going to allow this. He said the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. That clearly indicates that he's not going to relent in his push to silence any voice of dissenting as far as that position is concerned. So which way forward to heal the divide between or amongst the Nigerians, especially on Biafra crisis?
The best thing is to ask them what they want. I remember one time Professor Wole Soyinka said, if we can continue fighting Biafrans for such a long time, it's not long before we go to war, which is actually happening right now. Why don't we ask them what they want? And for sure they have voiced and they have said it, that they want referendum. Why? Because for a long time, they do not have a mutual understanding with the rest of the Nigeria nation. They are not understood. They are marginalized for such a long time. They are not wanted by the rest of the Nigerian government. So the best thing is to take them to a referendum so that we know exactly what they want and separate them if that is exactly what they want. Why? Because if we continue like this, these are crises not only in Nigeria, but it will have a ripple effect to the bordering countries. And with time, it will have a big effect to the African countries. As I'm talking, Africa has the largest immigrants to the world. It has the largest refugees to the rest of the continents. Why is that so? It's because of such crises that we can see in Biafra and Amazonia and other countries like Sudan. So I think before we even move forward, it's very important that we give or they're given referendum. From there, they can be able to sort out the rest of the challenges. And it's quite unfortunate because we have diplomatic missions in Nigeria. Why can't they take that issue with them and sort it out? Why are they quiet? Why is the world quiet when Biafrans are suffering? Why is the world quiet when we know very well that such issues can affect the whole of the African continent? It's quite sad, and that's why as Punchline Africa TV will continue talking to the world and saying that these people need a referendum. They're not needed. If you don't need me in your space, give me what I want so that I can self-govern myself, which I think it's a good way and a diplomatic way of allowing people to go their way.
That would be cool. Coupled with that, I would like you to approach it from a different angle altogether. What probably could have informed this agitation for, of course, separation, for a referendum to go separate ways between, of course, Nigeria and the people of Biafra? Let's approach it from that angle, as you and ask ourselves, what probably can we do to see into it that we find a healing in this divide?
Yeah, I think it's paramount to understand that for starters, there was no redemption, and the word you just used, healing, from the first Biafran crisis in 1967, to the 3 years fighting. And if you remember very well, there was a brief period where they got their independence, and then the Nigerian military decided to send all the planes to just bomb indiscriminately anybody who was found in that region. And those scars are passed on in what is called transgenerational trauma. You don't even have to tell your child about this. It's the same thing that affects most African countries. You don't really need to tell your child, hate this person or hate this person, but the way you behave and the way you talk about these things and the tone with which you use, your children pick that, and then they grow up with that. they send it to their children and their children's children, and each generation comes forth understanding their history and knowing very well that we are the people who have been marginalized in a country where we are one of the most, we are creating profit. We're bringing GDP, one of the highest rates of GDP. We're bringing the largest group of intelligent people. We're bringing the largest group of talented people. And yet we are the people who are not benefiting from all this. And this crisis goes on in most of the countries that we are finding, we are finding, you know, in the African continent with protests currently like Amazonia and Ethiopia. If you bring in another angle of how the Nigerian government has been dealing with this agitation, I believe, or I think, if they were to avoid the situation that they're finding themselves in, they really should have addressed the issue of why there was a Biafran war. There was a Biafran war, rather, in the first place. As it is, they are taking the Paul Biya approach of assuming everything is fine because we're in Lagos, while everything is not fine. People continue to die. You continue to apply the colonial methodology of handling protests, and that is arresting people arbitrarily, disappearing people arbitrarily. For a very long time, we don't know where Nnamdi Kanu is. That should not happen in this day and age. For a very long time, I don't know how many Biafrans have disappeared, how many have run from their homes, you know, fearing persecution or fearing death. And that is a very old, very archaic way of dealing with these protests. Most of these African governments could have benefited and could have avoided this crisis if they came forth and asked the people, what is it we can do for you? Where did we go wrong? How can we institute healing to begin in the Biafran region to start with? How can we make sure that we set up, even if it's a ministry, you know, or talk to the Ministry of Devolution, because Nigeria was one of the countries that started the federal system in Africa, and yet you have people with no roads. It makes zero sense, and that is a very it's a very bad conviction on devolution in Africa. So as it is, I think the onus is on the Nigerian government, first of all, to understand why there was a Biafran war in the first place, understand why it still goes on, ask the people what they want, and as it is right now, if they asked the people 10 years ago, the needs will be different, because right now all they want is a referendum. All they want is a referendum, and if they get that referendum, they're going to get out of Nigeria. They're going to vote and ratify that they need to be separate from Nigeria. The thing that the federal government of Nigeria fears about this is because they'll lose most of their resources and they'll lose most of their manpower and that skilled labor. This is something they should have addressed, you know, to prevent the anthills building a mountain. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that. You said if probably the federal republic of the federal government of Nigeria will have asked the people of Biafra what they want 10 years ago, things would have been different. Maybe the needs would have been different, but as it is today, the only call, and it remains so, is a referendum and nothing short of it. Let me hear from Linda Alela what you have to say about it. How can we heal the divide in Nigeria, more so with the Biafra crisis?
All right. Thank you so much, Tawish. Of course, the rest of the panel and the viewer. I've just gone an extra mile to try and understand all this crisis. It's a bit of history in Nigeria. And the problem, the Biafra problem, is more than meets the eye. And it has gone to a level whereby I would say, you know, it's a point of no return. I was looking to some report, or maybe at some reports that were suggesting that maybe in the year 2023 or years to come, Nigeria is likely to split even more into not just having Biafra on this other end, but a couple of others, around six
states.
Yes, over 6 states. So that is to tell you there's a big problem in Nigeria, not just in Biafra land. Maybe the few people of Biafra have realized how capable they are. They are learned to a level whereby they know very well that they can govern themselves. They have tried in the federal system. They have traditional and local leaders where you find the Igwes, and they've realized how possible it is for them to be able to work out things as a people. They enjoy the numbers, the people of Biafra. You know very well that they have a huge population that can literally actually form and sustain a country, for that matter. There's the question of resources, proper resources coming from the region of Biafra, talking about the Igbo, of course talking about the oil, that of course the external hand has major interest on. So then when you look at the question of Biafra, you start asking yourself, what is ailing Nigeria at large? Is it the problem with leadership? And if it is so, then it is not just the leadership of Buhari. This is leadership that has failed right from the word go, right from